Have you ever felt that there is something beyond what is visible? Not a distant mystery, but something that brushes against your skin, that seeps in through your pores when you let your guard down. Sometimes it's not what you see that affects you, but what you don't even know has already settled in your energetic field. You walk, you speak, you smile, yet you feel something clinging to you like a shadow with no owner. Before we begin this video, remember to subscribe and hit like. That is where the story begins. Not in an ancient temple or a sacred ceremony, but in that everyday moment when you feel you are absorbing what is not yours. And then, the symbol appears. Not as a passing trend or a mystical accessory, but as an ancient reminder wrapped in red thread. That thread, yes, the very one that many dismiss as merely a piece of wool, is actually a line of consciousness. It is a silent declaration that says, I set the boundary, I choose what enters and what does not. This is not about superstition. It is about energetic sovereignty. It is about awakening. And that is why it is not placed just anywhere. It is tied to the left wrist. Why there? Because the left side of the body, according to ancestral wisdom spanning cultures, is the channel of reception. It is through this channel that the invisible, the emotional, the subtle enter. It is no accident. It is vibration. When the ancient sages spoke of this channel, they did not use metaphors lightly. They understood that the human body is an energetic map, with entry and exit ports, and that protecting one of these ports is also caring for the soul. It is not about shutting oneself out from the world, but about filtering what comes in. Tying the red thread is not simply about making a knot. It is about drawing a threshold. It is about telling the universe, my energy is sacred, and only that which elevates my frequency is welcome here. Yet the thread itself holds no power. It's not the wool that transforms. It is your intention when consecrating it. It is your clarity when activating it. It serves no purpose if you do it merely for fashion, out of fear, or by imitation. Without conscious intent, it is just a rope. But if you tie it from an inner place, if you breathe, visualize, and seal it with purpose, the thread becomes an invisible guardian, a vibrational seal. And it is not only about external protection. It also organizes what is within. It marks a boundary that reminds you of what is yours and what is not. Often, chaos does not originate from the outside. It arises from carrying what was never meant for you, from confusing your own energy with that of your surroundings, from forgetting who you truly are. The red thread is not power. It is the gesture, the ritual act, the living consciousness that anchors you to the present. Every time you look at it, it is like a whisper saying, remember, do not absorb what does not nourish you. Do not carry what is not yours. Do not disconnect from yourself. And that, perhaps, is the true magic. A humble symbol that does not need to shine in order to have power. It simply requires that you look at it, and awaken. And what happens after you tie the thread? What occurs once that simple gesture has been made, once the knot has been sealed with intention? What follows goes beyond the external. For once activated, the thread does not only protect, it rearranges. It is not a barrier that confines, it is a boundary that clarifies. It is like drawing a line in the sand of your soul and declaring firmly, from here to that is the world, from here inward I am. This is where many go astray. They believe it is solely about protection, about a spiritual shield. But the thread also defines, affirms, and organizes. By setting a boundary outwardly, you automatically affirm what lies within. And that, though it may seem simple, carries profound implications. For when you know what is truly yours, you no longer bear what is not. When you recognize your energy, you cease to merge with chaos. Suddenly, emotions that once overwhelmed you no longer penetrate. Opinions that once hurt you no longer stick. A new clarity vibrates within you, as if your energetic field had been carefully combed after a storm. But this is not magic. It is practice. It is consistency. It is the act of returning time and again to the choice you made when tying the knot. But be cautious. The symbol has a cyclical life. It is not meant to last forever. The thread, if it is sacred, also must be honored with an ending. Every ritual tool has its season. And when that time comes, when the thread breaks, wears out, loses its luster, it is not a sign of loss. It is an indication that it has fulfilled its function. Clinging to it out of habit turns it into a dead object. And every dead symbol drains energy. What was once an anchor becomes a ballast. That is why, when the thread reaches the end of its cycle, you must let it go with gratitude. Burn it, return it to the earth, offer it with respect. And if the intention remains, it may be reborn in another thread, at another moment, imbued with new energy. But it should never be used out of inertia. For the thread, like consciousness, requires a living presence. Furthermore, it should not be used as an excuse. It is not a shield against incoherence. You may wear the reddest, most blessed thread, but if you cannot say no, if you do not honor your rest, if you do not protect your time, then the thread will not work. It is an ally, yes, but it does not substitute your will. It does not replace your decisions. It aligns. You must act for yourself. Because true protection does not come from an amulet. It arises from a coherent life. From a body that rests. From words filled with respect. From bonds that nurture. The thread is only a reminder of what you choose to uphold. It whispers to you, but you must listen and choose anew each day. So if you have already tied your thread, if you wear it with you, observe it. Not as a mere object, but as a mirror. What does it tell you today? Does it still resonate with you? Does it represent what you decided to protect? Perhaps, it is time to reactivate your commitment, to close one cycle or to begin another. Remember, it is not the thread, it is you. And that, in a world awash with empty symbols, changes everything. There is something few dare to acknowledge. Many of the burdens we carry are not truly ours. They were not born with us. They were not nurtured within us. We simply absorb them. Like emotional sponges, we drift through charged conversations, empty stares, and hectic environments. And before we know it, we take home pains that do not belong to us. And the most intricate part is that we learn to call them me. But awakening begins when you pause. When you ask yourself honestly, is what I feel truly mine? And that is when the red thread becomes more than a symbol. It turns into a mirror. It forces you to observe what you allow, what you carry, what you decide to uphold. For not everything that comes your way is meant to stay with you. The red thread is not a rigid barrier. It is an invitation to discern, to choose, to care for your energy with the same seriousness with which you care for your body. Or do you allow just anyone to enter your home without questioning who they are, where they come from, or what their intentions may be? Then why do you allow the same with your energetic field? And yes, you may be an empathetic, sensitive person, open to the subtle. That is not a weakness, it is a gift. Yet even the noblest gift needs limits. For when there are no limits, you become filled with what does not nourish you, what does not resonate, what burdens you. You disconnect. You forget. Then you glance again at your left wrist, and there is the thread. Not as a mere ornament, but as a reminder. As a pact. As a vibrational anchor that tells you, remember who you are. Remember what you have chosen to protect. In a world where distraction is the norm, where energy is dispensed without discernment, where symbols are trivialized and consciousness dissolves amid endless notifications, wearing a thread with intention is an act of subtle revolution. It is applied psychomagic. It is a silent enough to the noise and a profound yes to your integrity. But be careful. For there is a trap masquerading as spirituality, thinking that the symbol replaces inner work. Believing that simply tying the thread is enough to be safe. And no, it is not a guarantee. It is a tool, a reinforcement, a sign. If you do not cleanse your emotional field, if you do not reassess your boundaries, if you do not practice listening to yourself, then the thread cannot support what you do not support. For the guardian is not the knot, it is you. And that is why, before placing it, you must ask yourself with radical honesty, what do I want to protect? Which part of me has been exposed, drained, or forgotten? That answer isn't found in any book, it lies in the silence of your heart. When you decide that enough is enough, when you decide you no longer want to absorb what does not resonate with you, when you resolve to guard your soul as the treasure it is, that is where it all begins. And then the thread, more than an amulet, becomes a sacred act. A gesture of self-love. A soft line of fire that tells the universe, I am awake. I am within myself. I am choosing. And believe me, that is no small matter. In this world, to awaken is already magic. As always, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to subscribe and hit like. See you in the next video.